Hey, what's up? I am Tony,
And I'm Rico.
and this is Relatively Sound, the podcast that is as boring as a drug you take too regularly. Not the best advertisement. Let's try again. The podcast that is another drunk conquistador. That'll have to do for today.
Why does that sound
So,
familiar to me?
you'll find out shortly, I'm anticipating. So, right now, Rico is probably shivering in his boots because he has no idea what we're going to do today for my pick of our album for album series. So, last time Rico gave me Wilco, Summer Teeth. That is right. Don't worry, it's not forgettable. I just had a little, still waking up. But that album was cool. I mean, it did not type Blue Sky Blue, or is it the other way around?
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. Sky Blue Sky is the other way around.
Sky Blue Sky. I totally came prepared today. But still cool nonetheless. I'm glad to be getting into Wilco. I think they're really cool. They're good at what they do. And looking forward to the next one I hear from them. So my last pick was 12 Bar Blues from Scott Weiland, an industrial sounding record that, of course wasn't going to be Rico's cup of tea. So I thought I would be kind to him today and work on an artist I have given Rico several albums from now, one that is very dear to me. Just a little more suspense and I'll reveal it. This album in 8th grade was my favorite album at one point. So, I mean, I still think it's a fantastic record. I think it's really great and important, but I digress.
It's
The
Nick
album.
Lachey's What's Left of Me.
You wish. All right. So the album here is Elliot Smith's Figure 8. I believe it was released in 2000. I did not come prepared at all today, actually. But I believe it's like the first record he made after moving to California, I think. Hence the song LA on there, which we'll get into later. So this was a big change in Elliot's sound. He went from more, like with XO, definitely sounded more professional than his previous releases and more full band. But as you will soon see, the production value is a lot higher. It has more of a commercial sound. I wouldn't say like it's a commercial approach, but as far as resources and whatnot, we can get into those details later. But how are you feeling about this?
Relieved. Because I know
Good? Good?
like at the very least I'll enjoy, I would say, most of it. Especially because, like with a lot of artists I listen to, I prefer an artist's kind of middle or even later work than their early work. And I know this comes after all the albums you've given me. Well, no, not from a basement. I apologize, but the other album of Elliot I knew before, which was Either
XO.
Or. No, either or.
Oh, well, either or then
The
XO.
album I knew before the podcast. Yeah. So I'm not worried at all. Plus, like a lot of Elliot things, like even Heat Miser has really grown on me, just because I really appreciate Elliot as a singer songwriter and all that jazz. So yeah, I'm relieved. I mean, I'm like, I don't know where this will rank. I will try to, at the end of our first listen reaction, I will try to place it in the pantheon of Elliot albums. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, this is going to be an easy listen in the sense that I'm going to enjoy. I mean, the songs might be dark and sad, and there might be a couple I'm sure that will make me scratch my head a little bit, but it's going to be a good listen.
And to clarify, yes, it was released in 2000 in May, and it was recorded partially in Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood, as well as Abbey Road Studios in London. I wanted to confirm that before I started spreading misinformation here.
Yeah, and I know you can go to that place where the album cover was like the picture was taken.
I think they painted over it now. I think.
Did they? Oh, that's.
I think I could be wrong, but unfortunately, I think they did.
Next time you come to California, we need to take a trip and go.
Yeah. I've never been down to your place even.
Yeah, if they haven't repainted over it. Although, like you said, if it's in LA, then that's like a good 6-hour drive from here.
I should have made Ishan take me when I went up there to see him.
Yeah, you should.
Instead, I made him take me to the Huntington Museum, which was awesome. But
I don't even know what that is.
All right, and I guess this album ranked 86 on the Guardian's 100 Best Albums of the 21st Century list, and was included in the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. Treble ranked the album at 56 in their top 100 indie rock albums of the 2000s. So, cool.
There we go. It's got its accolades.
Yeah, it does. Now, without further, I think I was trying to say figure eight. Without further ado, here is figure eight.
Okay, so this album, I was highly anticipating it for a while, but then to be honest, I kind of forgot about because it's been a little bit since we've done the last Elliot one.
Yes, I knew it was the right time. I was like, it's been just long enough, but we've been revisiting different artists. This isn't a rock album. This is perfect.
Yeah, so when I was thinking of what you could give me, I'm like, well, I don't think he's going to give me another STP because we just did 2 STP side-related projects. And then I'm like, is he going to give me like a curveball, like a new artist, like the Clash or something that we've never talked about on the podcast before? So I was definitely like, what is he going to give me? So when you said it, I was like super excited because I'm like, okay, it's going to be an easy listen in the regards that I'm going to enjoy this album because, for the podcast, you're 2 for 2 for Elliot Smith albums for me enjoying them.
Right on.
And they've really, like, every time because I have them both on vinyl, but right behind me, every time I put them on, I am enjoying more things about them more and more, especially songs I didn't love before. Like earlier, we were talking about the one song from a Basement where I was talking about the outro guitar bit.
Yes, a passing feeling.
And that was not a song I loved on first listen, but yesterday I spun the album because yesterday was 20 years since it came out.
Oh,
and okay. I sent you it on Instagram, but I figured you didn't look at it yet.
Probably not yet. Sorry.
So that's why I spun it yesterday, and it was perfect because we were doing the reaction today/yesterday, and going into this album, I'm like, okay, I know I really enjoy Elliot Smith. And I know I really enjoy his later period stuff, because I really like From a Basement, and some might argue this is not like his last like full studio album that maybe From a Basement is, and then New Moon is really like the compilation album afterwards, I don't really care about getting into the semantics about that stuff. Like, this for sure is an album that he released while he was still alive. So we don't have to worry about that. I just knew that this time period I was going to enjoy, where going back to his first 2 albums that I've never heard before, I have no clue if I'm going to like them. I feel like I'm going to have to not lower my expectations, but change them. But for this album, I really didn't feel like I had to change any expectations. And I got a lot of what I was expecting, and then a lot of what I wasn't expecting. I do think this is his maybe most artsy album, which usually would make it my favorite album. Because I feel like with a lot of artists that I like when they get more artsy. But I will say, and when we did the other 2 Elliot albums on the podcast, we weren't doing this format. So I listened to them like 5 times over a week or 2. More than 5 times, probably close to 10 times. And then we discussed it. Right now, this discussion is coming straight after me hearing this album only one time through. So that said, I think the thing I'm most unsure about is really the flow of the album. Because I like a lot of what's here. Like, looking at the track list, there's 16 songs. I guess if you want to say real songs, there's 15, because you even mentioned at the end of Bye that you see it as more an interlude thing, which is, I agree with.
Good. Same page.
They don't, on the album, it's not called Happiness, and then the next track is The Gondola Man. It's, slash The Gondola Man, In the Lost and Found slash The Roost, right? So maybe it should have been Can't Make a Sound slash Goodbye, right? But for me, for this album, I feel like when we started getting towards the end of the second half of the album, right, if we're cutting it down the middle would be Stupidity Tries, right? Song 8. I
Yeah,
know
track.
there's like 3 songs though on the second side that are shorter, right? Easy Way Out's like under 3 minutes.
Well, I think
Color
actually the second
Bars.
side. I mean, second side has a 5 minute song.
That's
A
true,
lot of
but
3 minute songs. So I almost say maybe runtime, easy way out would be the second side.
yeah.
I mean, I could pull out my double LP copy, but I ain't gonna do that right now.
Mm. Um. So I like okay. Let me give you like the pros, like on as a whole, and then I'll kind of get into more of the songs. Like as a whole, I really enjoyed how expansive the sound was. Like this did you mentioned he worked in 2 different studios, one of them being the Abbey Road Studios, and you could tell that like this definitely the production like either or is not quite lo-fi, but it's definitely got the singer songwriter.
I mean, I think technically, like I guess it's like actually indie, like
It's indie, but it's not because like okay, if you ever get the first Death Cab for Cutie album, that first Death Cab for Cutie album actually kind of sounds like shit, and I definitely call it lo-fi. Like it it is not every song, but there's a lot of songs on the first Death Cab album where it actually takes me out of the song a little bit because of the way it's produced,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And something like that could be said for Spoon's album Transference, where it's so crazy, it's like, but that's not the case for this album. My point just being that like this album sounds more full than either or, and XO it sounds even more full than XO. I feel like XO was already him doing a little bit more, not trickery in the studio, but he was doing a little bit more like maybe harmonies and like just different like the last song is a cappella, so it's
Hmm.
like that to me was very
Everyone
different.
cares. Everyone understands. Has a really cool orchestral thing going on. Waltz number two has those strings at the end. Wow. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it is quite a step up in quality, objectively, and all his performances are tighter and stuff too. So, I
yeah.
mean, yeah, you're totally right.
Um, and I think there's a lot of great standout tracks on this album. My favorite. Well, my favorite is probably Happiness, if I'm being honest, but it's
You have
also
the
the
longest
song
time with it.
I've had the longest time with. I think the most like surprising favorite was LA. Not like I'm sure you weren't surprised I liked it, but I guess surprised in the sense that like yeah, the album opener is pretty rock and pretty upbeat. And then Junk Bond trailer is like to me like kind of a little bit more heavy, a little bit more grimy, kind of like a King's Crossing. But then LA to me was like if you took See You Later from the Heat Miser's album and like kicked it up even more of a notch. And that was one of my favorites from that Heat Miser album. So I wasn't expecting that kind of sound on this album because, especially going up to that song in the track list, like I don't know, there just wasn't anything like that. So like that was really surprising in a great way. I really like the simplicity of Color Bars. I know you were surprised how much I like that song.
Yeah, as a number three, that's wild.
Yeah, so like that was great. Um, and then I did really enjoy a lot of Can't Make a Sound. Um,
Stupidity tries seem to be one you were digging.
yeah, although that one for some reason I'm having a harder time remembering. Um, I think right now I remember more of like Easy Way Out, even though I
Interesting.
actually did say that one was a little bit more simpler. Um, and actually, I really liked maybe when we first heard the song. Because spoiler alert, we did also cut this album into 2 parts in the reaction. I did give the first half of the album another listen this morning, and I really, really dig Everything Reminds Me of Her like a lot. I really
Really, that
like,
that was a
yeah.
not that I disliked it, but that was a grower for me.
I
Like I had mentioned
see. I think
earlier.
that's one of the cases where that's a song I like probably way more on a first listen than you did.
Yeah.
Which is not to like
Not
haha,
it,
I liked an Elliot Smith song more than you did. Like I'm sure if we were to do rankings, we would definitely have way different rankings.
of course, of course.
My only thing with the album is that I do feel like, and you had mentioned this a little bit with some critics and some fans when this album came out, not maybe, well, not the critics, but more like the hardcore fans were like not digging this album as much because they were maybe wanting the more heartfelt style of songwriting from Elliot, where it's just like him, acoustic guitar,
They want to feel
really,
close to him, seems to be the
yeah, like
takeaway.
the either or sound. And I love that sound too, don't get me wrong, but I really like the production on this album, and I liked that you got strings and, you got, I mean, it sounds like you have overdubs. I mean, like,
Oh,
on,
tons. Yeah. I mean, he played
yeah,
most of the instrumentation, so yeah.
yeah, like, was it on, Better Be Quiet Now, where the electric guitar comes in, like, after, like, the first chorus,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like that type of stuff I think was great.
He did
My
all like the
only,
organs, the keys,
yeah,
piano.
well, so some of where the production gets a little much for me is that, like, the organs was a little much sometimes. Which might sound a little dumb because I did say on a couple songs, like on in the Lost and Found, I was like, okay, the piano playing, even though it's enjoyable, it's not my favorite. So then when the organs came in on other songs later on in the album, I was like, I dig that. But then I felt like he was doing it a little too much. And the one thing that I think maybe was overdone a little bit on the album was the strings that comes at the end of certain songs. The production at the ends of the songs, I think, was almost, I don't want to say becoming stale to me, but like,
It's a
it,
very consistent sound. I feel like that's
yeah.
what you're trying to get at.
And it's just like the first couple times it happens, it's a nice surprise. And I'm like, that's great. But I feel like on either or, when it happens, it's more sporadic, right? Would you agree? And it seems more fresh.
That is, I feel like that's too nuanced of a question to answer on the fly. But I see where you're coming from. I see what you're coming from. I think for
Yeah.
me, and maybe this is something like once you've heard the album a few more times, you'll
Yeah.
agree with me. I feel like the the organs and the strings for the most part aren't too melodically crazy or in your face. They're more textural. Like obviously they're playing melodies, to some extent. They're following chord progressions. But I feel like there's something where, especially if I'm not listening with, perfect stereo headphones, attention, I can, you almost don't notice it. Like if it blends really well with the song, it's in the mix. It never feels out of place. I understand, yeah, with the magnifying glass, I feel like that is an easier, take to have. But for me, I don't think the production ever takes away on this record, personally.
Yeah. No, and I'm not, some Elliott Smith fans who listen to this podcast, who've listened to maybe our other two episodes, might think I'm being a little harsh. And I know you don't, which I'm thankful for. Um, I'm not trying to say the production is a letdown or makes the album drop in quality. That's insane. In fact, I think the production is a highlight. That being said, maybe it's the arrangement of some of the songs that I think is slightly weaker than the other Elliott Smith albums I've heard. Um, and then going off of that, I also think the track list order, which I know for a lot of people is a very small thing, but for me, as someone who mainly listens to music and from an album from beginning to end, as opposed to like a playlist or songs at random, it is an important thing to me. And I think the album flows really well. And then I do feel like by Stupidity Tries, maybe even in The Lost and Found, it kind of goes back and forth a little bit with like the type of songs that come on the album. Um,
Could you elaborate, sir?
yeah, like, okay, when we were reacting to the album, if you were watching on YouTube, I really liked the fact that you actually made us not stop after the three songs that were Everything Reminds Me of Her, Everything Means Nothing to Me, LA, which by the way, remember we were talking about the album, like the song titles? Come on, Everything Reminds Me of Her, Everything Means Nothing to Me. That's also another one of those things.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But
Very
that's
true.
beside the point. we did those 3 songs in a row, and it's because you wanted me to kind of, because when we do these reactions, we pause after every song, which some people might hate. Sorry, if you don't like it, don't watch it. But that's how we
Oh,
do it.
wow, throwing shots here, man.
No, I'm just saying, like we're, don't worry. We also listen to these albums on our own time, uninterrupted. Don't worry. This is for science research, so this is for the podcast. I really enjoy that because I thought the transitions between the 3 songs either was intentional or was just a nice contrast, like going from those two kind of like softer songs to slightly more gentle or even slightly more experimental, the outro of Everything Means Nothing to Me Now, and to the like in your face guitar heavy, riff heavy LA, right? So that was great. But then when it comes to the track list sequence near the end of the album, like I still think the album should end with happiness. I'm sorry. That's going to be a biased thing from it being the
Where the
last.
hell could you put Can't Make a Sound? There's no other good place for it.
It would be the penultimate track. I think that, and I will get back to you on this when it comes to me giving the album more listens. I know I don't want to break up that run of those 3 songs that we just talked about. I also think LA would be a killer second to last song.
Okay, that I did not even consider. Wow, wow. I need a second to digest
I
that.
think it's a more in your face See You Later, and See You Later is such a good penultimate track on the Heat Miser album. But that would mess everything up because then I have to
Well, happiness wouldn't follow it well.
doesn't Half Right not follow See You Later well?
Half Right is nothing like happiness, dude. Half Right is very melancholy, somber throughout. It's very much one tone the whole song. Happiness is a lot louder. It's more dynamic. Like,
But
those are
that's
not the
fine.
same songs. I can see the See You Later comparison a lot more. I never would have thought it, but I can see that more. But
Yeah. I just think there's songs on this album I would maybe want to swap around. Like, and if I'm being honest, do I feel like this album sort of kind of, because I still also think From a Basement is slightly longer than it needs to be. Could 1 or 2 songs be dropped from this album and might make it a little tighter for my own personal taste? I think so. Like right now, just going through the songs, like if Pretty Mary Kay wasn't on the album, would I be upset? Mm, you know?
but it's also one of those things where that song is like I couldn't see him putting this on any other album. Like this song needs the
Yeah.
big grand scale, or else it. I mean, there is the acoustic version that works good, but I don't know.
It's
I like.
this is actually one of the harder albums when it comes to like sequencing and the album flow that we've done a podcast reaction to so far. That I definitely will need to hear it multiple times on my own, uninterrupted, for me to like fully understand where this album was going to when it comes to the order, the song orders. But when it comes to the songs themselves, I really enjoyed them. There was no song that I thought was bad or unenjoyable. Even today, when I re-listened to Everything Means Nothing to Me, I enjoyed it more than I did the first listen.
Good.
I think the same thing will happen to Pretty Mary Kay. And then some of the songs right now that I'm having a harder time remembering all the parts to, like Stupidity Tries and, even like Better Be Quiet Now.
Better Be Quiet Now.
Yeah, I think those ones will kind of stick with me more when I give them more listens. And, but yeah, I mean, I love the songs that had a lot of color and a lot of instrumentations,
A
like
lot of bars.
Yeah, like Son of Sam, L.A., and Can't Make a Sound. And then I also really like the kind of more simple acoustic songs that are a little quieter, like Color Bars, Happiness, obviously, Easy Way Out. Yeah, I really enjoy the album. I said earlier I was going to rank the albums. If I had to do it right now, I think this would be last just because it's the newest one. I will say my last thing I'll say about this album is I feel like this could rise a little after I give it more listens. But if some of those songs that I said that might grow on me, if they don't grow on me, I could see it dropping just a little to where it doesn't edge out the other three Elliot albums that I've listened to. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so
But
I
I would be shocked if after I hear every Elliot album, the first two and even New Moon, I would be shocked if this was dead last.
it's tough because I know I said that in the eighth grade there was a point where this was my favorite Elliott Smith album. It's really hard to rank it with his other albums for some reason. I do think it's his most impressive record. I mean, the production is by far his objectively best. Do I prefer the basement production because of the variety of sounds, kind of the vintagey thing going on? Yes. But no, this is not my favorite anymore. It, it's really hard ranking them because I like all the albums for different reasons. Um,
He's kind of an artist where it's like if you said any of them are your favorites, like maybe besides New Moon, you can't be mad at it, right?
but I mean, even New Moon, which I was like, this is by far my least favorite. I'm like, okay, actually, I really do like this one, but New Moon is my least favorite of the bunch.
But
Like,
it's
I feel
also
like,
it's kind of like to me, I feel like it's the compilation, right?
yeah, it is very much like it's a compilation. Like
But
Roman Candle, like yes, it is like a 30-minute record. Yes, it is like it doesn't have the classic Elliott Smith sound, which one day you'll get it, you'll get
yeah,
it. Um, but even that it's kind of endearing. It's its own little thing, and you could never put that album against Figure Eight. That's just two different spectrums. So
no, I really enjoy this album. I am glad I have another Elliott Smith album under my belt. I'm very excited to go and listen to this in my own time so I can really get the flow of the album better. And like I said, I might come back a week later and say, hey, this album clicked with me even more, and I like it more than From a Basement or XO.
yeah, I mean Asia has quickly grown on you.
Yeah, a lot of the ones you've given me recently, even the Heat Miser one grew on me a lot too.
That's great. Yeah,
I mean, some of those songs, mostly the Elliott ones, are like up there with any other Elliott songs. Half Right, See You Later. Like, come on, like those are fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, I think your batting average has been better than mine so far lately, but it's not a contest, but
yeah.
we'll see.
We'll,
But yeah,
we'll see. Maybe I'll give you some stinkers next. I mean, maybe it means my picks have been too safe lately. So
oh no,
maybe I'll try to get. I'll try to get you
pretend I
next.
didn't say any of the things I just said. Forget everything I said.
I can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, man.
Well, let us know if you've heard this album, what your thoughts about it are. Drop us a comment and let Tony know out of the remaining Elliott Smith albums which one you think he should give me next. And I'm sure we're going to be back next week with either another album for album episode, or we have a couple cool ones planned. Another guest episode that we're trying to get going with scheduling, and we do have a bonus episode too sometime that we're going to release. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, we hope you take care, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Bye bye.